again. So I'm going to show you when you go to add another document to your file, you go to all forms. Notice up here you've got all Indiana Association of Realtors residential, okay, BLC, Brokers Listing Cooperative, and Indiana Association of Realtors commercial. All three separate things. You're going to spend most of your time here, which is where I'm at. But if you can't find something, it may be somewhere else. But we're going to start through these. Now I'm on counter offers. So you notice when you search, we've done this before, don't put in a ton of stuff. Don't put in counter offer because watch this. Addendum. It's going to pull up these, call it 6, okay? Watch this. ADD only. Look how much more I've got. Okay, so if you're trying to find something for an addendum, you just search addendum, you're not going to get many options. You search add, all of a sudden, whoop, we got a bunch, okay? All right, so I already did this. I did counter, and boom, and I clicked it. As soon as I clicked it, it put it in my file, okay? But you can also drop down and remove the form, print the sample, print the blank, preview the form, and close, okay? But I already added it. It's here. I organized them, clicked it, dragged them around, done organizing, and this is the way I've got it. So now we're going to talk counter offers. So if you submitted a purchase agreement and they counter offered you, then you may need to counter offer them back. So counter offer is a dead deal unless we all agree or they send you a new idea, right? So if they say yes, then that's a yes. That's accepted. If they say no, that's called rejected. That means we're not taking your offer and we're not giving you another option. We're so far off. Or the third option is a counter offer. This is a new idea. This keeps the thing alive at some level, but really it's saying no, dead purchase agreement. But the counter offer keeps it somewhat alive, but there's no being retroactive. So if the seller says, we're countering your purchase agreement, that means they said no, but here's a new idea. Emphasis on no. Because if you say, no, that counter offer you just sent me, Mr. Seller, is terrible. I'm not buying that house at that price. They can't then go, well, okay, we'll just act like the counter didn't happen. We'll just take your original offer. No, it doesn't work that way. You guys can walk or you guys can counter again, but it's a dead deal unless somebody sends a counter and accepts it, okay? Counter offers are rejections with a new idea. If they want to bring it back to life, you could Lazarus this thing and sign it as accepted, and it brings it all back to life. But a counter is a dead deal. So we're going to counter. Counters count buyers and sellers together. So counter 1 would be generally seller back to the buyer. Counter 2 would be a buyer again back to the seller in response to the first counter, and then so on. This would be counter 1, counter 2, counter 3, counter 4, back and forth. Counter 1, counter 2, counter 3, counter 4. Okay? So you're going to fill in counter number, whatever. If you're the buyer, it's generally going to be even numbers, 2, 4, 6. Okay? Now, you're going to put the date it was countered. This is when it's being written. Purchase agreement date. So if you've done a few of these, it may not be the same day as your purchase agreement. So pay attention. It may already be filled in there, but you're going to want to make sure you know the date that was at the top left of the purchase agreement, because that's what is tying it to this agreement. This undersigned makes the following counteroffer to the purchase agreement dated whatever, because there could be multiple purchase agreements. Concerning property, and its address is all going to be in here. Sometimes you'll notice, watch this, I have hashes because I don't know the township, don't want to mess with it. Totally fine. But if you know the township, fill it in. Between the seller and the buyer, these will already be filled in if you've done your parties correctly. And then here is where you're going to write everything. So this, remember, I'm going to just jump here real quick. All other terms and conditions of the purchase agreement and all previous counters remain in effect, except as modified for this counter. So the counter only changes that which you mention. Seller and buyer have the right to withdraw an offer or counteroffer prior to written acceptance and delivery. We've talked about that. It could be signed all day long, but if it hasn't been delivered to the other party, it is not done. I had a deal where we sent a counteroffer out. My buyer changed their mind after the fourth counter here and said, never mind, we don't want it. Can we take that back? I said, absolutely. Immediately emailed and texted the agent, said, we're withdrawing our counteroffer. We're not moving forward with this transaction. And then I sent them a withdrawal of offer or counteroffer form, okay? So we withdrew it. And the agent said, darn, we have it signed. I just was about to send it to you. So we killed it right before they sent it to us, and we would have been under contract. This counteroffer blank is void if not accepted before this date, 12 noon, 11 a.m., 2 p.m. on this date. This is time, this is day. Just like the purchase agreement, it is void. So what happens if it goes past the date and time? It's dead, and you cannot Lazarus it with a counteroffer or an amendment. It's void. It's over. Start with a new purchase agreement. Okay? Now, are there times you're just going to play ball together? Probably, but you don't want to end up in court doing that, I don't think. Well, there's something to be said for if people continue down a transaction, you can't come back later and go, let's say we've gone 2 weeks into the transaction with inspections and stuff, and then the buyer turns around and goes, well, the counteroffer wasn't signed in enough time, so it was void. So we're out of the transaction scot-free. I don't think that's going to work in court because everybody played like it was going to continue. Nobody raised Cain at that moment, so therefore you can't bring it back up later is the way it seems to work. But just keep it clean. And if it expires and it goes void, then just get a new purchase agreement started and incorporate the information from your counteroffers into it, and then start the counteroffering all over again if you need to. But new purchase agreement, if this expires, it's a dead deal. And then you got the buyers and sellers and all this stuff. So the way the counteroffer down here works is, the above counteroffer number blank is accepted, countered, or rejected at what time and date. You're going to put accepted, countered, or rejected. Rejected is fine. It means it's a dead deal. Countered is it's dead unless somebody revives it by signing a counter. Accepted is we're in business, okay? Time, always then check AM, PM, or noon. Do not just check noon. Write 12 noon on, you pick your date, okay? And then you're going to pick seller, buyer, and they're going to sign and all that. It's very simple, okay? If you hit countered, that means then you're also going to send this form as we're countering you again, and you're going to go get another counteroffer form and pull it in and fill it out and send it, okay? That's what happens when you're responding to a counteroffer. Up here, what are you writing? Well, you're writing the items that change. Keep it simple. Purchase price to be $200,000. Okay, great. No problem. Inspection time, line 124, 128. It's not really the right line, but initial inspection time frame to be 10 days. Okay, so maybe they said they wanted 20 days for inspections. You're moving it to 10. Line, I like to use lines. Line this, we're changing this. Or you can even copy and paste information. Don't rewrite contract language. Go get the contract language and then make it fit. Change the days, change the hours, change the answer to it, whatever it is. But don't just come in here and go, possession to be delivered on 3/19/2022. Well, the reason you might not do that is there's a lot more information in that possession section that could be important, And I don't know what you're changing here, if you're changing all of that and you're removing it, or are you just changing this specific date? But there was also a time in there maybe. So you're going to want to say, line 327, blank to read, 3/19/2022. Something like that. But honestly, that's not even clear enough to me. Get clear. Use contract language. Refer to lines. Line 128 changed to 14 days, 12 to business days, to whatever. You're going to make whatever changes. Everything else is the same, so only address all this. You don't have to say that all terms remain the same, except just start writing, making a list. You might think about separating them out with these because, there's going to be times where this is going to wrap around to another line, and we want to know that that's the beginning of the new information, okay? It'll automatically create an addendum for you if you go too long, but that's how you do a counteroffer. But I cannot stress enough, if you accept a counteroffer or an offer, it's accepted, we're in business. If you counter it, it is a dead deal unless they revive it by signing an agreement on the counteroffer. If it is rejected, it is a dead deal. So be careful countering. Well, I'd really like, instead of 5 days post-closing possession, I'd really like 6. Okay, but if that buyer has cold feet right now and you counter that, this is their chance to get out. Another argument could be made that they could have retracted it. And another argument could be made that it's good to find out they got cold feet now rather than when they don't turn in the earnest money. So balancing act here on the risk levels, but countering is a big deal. You've got people like I've experienced that are like, here's my offer, take it or leave it. Somebody counters something. He said, I said, take it or leave it. And he's gone. So for listing agents, be careful. Bird in the hand, two in the bush was invented for a reason. Just be careful with counters because you killed the deal with a counter. They can Lazarus it by raising it back from the dead if they agree to your counter. But until they agree to your counter, it's a dead deal. Sometimes they may counter you back and then you're back in charge, which is great. But just be very, very careful with counter offers. So lots to this. But remember, it operates differently than the buyer inspection response. Counter offer leaves everything the same except for what you mention, where the inspection responses deletes the previous inspection response and starts over with a new list. So they're different. Pay attention to these types of lines right here that tell you about what's going on. All right? That is counter offers for you.